Welcome back to the channel where we build a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. I'm a beginner programmer, so feel free to join our adventure while we build a top-down adventure game built with Love2d and Lua. Now, we are working on figuring out some rotating orbs for our character. So I've built out this test of a project to try to get our rotating orbs around us. Now, no one's on stream just yet, so I might be working on tidying up our flame atlas. It's just too flat at the bottom here. So one thing I want to do is make sure it looks pretty good. We just want to make a rounded bottom so that it looks a little better here. So what I'm gonna do is kind of put this fire 2 pixels up on every sprite, and then we'll round out that bottom. And hopefully we can round out so it looks more appropriate for a fire animation. And I think there's just one too many. I think less blue or less light blue there would look a little better. There's just like little tweaks to make here. It's looking pretty good. This one's jacked. Yeah, I don't quite like how the top here doesn't move, so we can kind of move it over just a bit. You know, it needs more shape. It needs more consistent shape growth for the darker blue here. Yeah, I don't like that that kind of moved over too soon. It just needs a little more consistency in the cyan pixels here, so it doesn't change as much. Now let's round out the bottom here and see if that is going to help us. So we might have a couple pixels down here lead into this. And we can kind of, if that becomes our rounding, something like that. So we'd want to make sure we've got that consistency. And then Yeah, and you know, it can afford to wave a little bit too. Just being so consistent doesn't look too good. But we have to think that this is also rotating, so we don't want too much movement. Yeah, actually, that's looking not bad. Now, I don't like one of these frames has no pixels on the side like this. So let's just flesh out one over there. Yeah. Now, I think it could be cool too to have maybe the blue start out here a little lower. And then it scoots up. Yeah. That's a little too much movement, I think, for the blue here. Looking pretty good. I think I don't like the solo one blue pixel right here. And then the square. This square is a bit much. That's looking pretty good. Now I think the purple could afford to scoot up over time as well. We don't really have the purple separation, so maybe we can rise the purple just a bit over here. Doesn't look so good there. That just goes up too high on the purple. Just want some sort of consistency with these pixels that are flying up. Make sure we've got, like, those two should probably be over here. If you kind of project where they would float up into. Then we don't want too many to overlap spaces, like right here. You know, we should probably have a blue here that spits up. Then maybe this is too much, or this should be lower. And then this one, yeah, they can be. looking pretty good. I think this one, there's one. Actually, that's looking pretty good. I just think that when this part comes down, we should fill out this blue down here. And then kind of similar on this one, when this one's down, maybe something like that. It's looking pretty close. It's hard to say, like, if we zoom it out to where it's more game size. Yeah, I don't think these bottom ones are doing us much good right here. You know, I think the tip of this left flame needs to wobble a bit more because it looks like it keeps the same shape throughout. So I feel like, gosh, that frame just looks strange. I think if we kind of shift the blue to be on this other side, it could look a little more wavy. See, to me, it kind of looks like it's going like in a circle when it should be kind of wavy. It looks like it's just going in a circle. So maybe... You know, that is really close. I do feel like it should be more wavy. It looks like it's kind of just going up and down instead of side to side. Man, anytime I touch the second row, it just doesn't look so natural. That's looking close, though. Looking close. I think I just don't like how... I think I don't like the 2 square frame here, like these 2 squares. And the longer I stare at this thing, the harder it is to be objective about it, but that's looking pretty good. Okay, I think I like that. So we're working on getting these flames orbiting our player. Now, I made this little test sandbox here to test this. So we've got our function here. So like we're doing something a count amount of times, right? So if we give more than one object here, we're trying to offset them. So like 2 orbs would be opposite, 3 orbs would be triangle, 4 would be a square. So we need to get these to spin. So in order to do that, we'd add our time variable here inside our trig functions. Okay, so we've got the orbiting, and it's following our player, which is what we want. Now we are able to, and one of our followers, Prosto here, showed me how to do all this stuff on his stream just a couple minutes ago. So big shout out to Prosto. If we want to change this speed, because right now speed is just modified by our time, so we can give ourselves a speed that we are going to go speed this up by. So let's go ahead and put our speed modifier in here inside our function. Okay, I think that sped it up. Let's make sure. Like if we double that speed, we should have a faster orbiting, which it looks like we do. So let's see if we can get multiple orbs going around us. So we do our count of 2 instead. Now, this is the magic code for the step. We divide math.pi. We take pi, times it by 2, divide by our count, and that will hopefully offset each ball so that it's an equal distance around us. So we've got our orbiting balls here. So that's looking right. Now, our old logic before Prosto was helping us, we could only have an even number here. So like let's try, or we can only have an odd number for whatever reason. But here we can put an even number and it's working just fine. So Prosto was the man helping us out on that. Go give him a follow because he's doing some really cool stuff. He's doing some 3D stuff in Love2d, and it's looking really good. But he was very nice to help me out with this today on his stream. And we can change how far we want the orbs to be around us, like that. And it'll maintain the same size, so whether or not we're 200 away or just 20 away, the time it takes for a full rotation remains the same. So that's looking good. And then let's say we want 3, it should look like a triangle at that point, which it does. Let's get this amplitude back to 100. Yes, okay. So instead of circles, this is going to be the fire sprite that we were just animating around our player, and that'll only come out if you hit a successful spell cast. Let's test 4. And I'll show you guys Prosto's code here in a second to show you what he kind of demoed for me. 4 is looking good. And then let's do 5. They're all equal distant apart. That's that math.pi times 2 divided by our count to slice it up. So that's really cool. And then no matter what our speed is, we'll get that that spacing remains the same, which is really good. And then we won't have any more than 5 in our game, but I'm kind of curious to just see what more than 5 would look like. Wow. Yeah. That's really cool. Okay. So we've got now a basis for, hey Leva, good to see you. Yes, you found the emotes. There's still a couple more that are getting approved, but that Tashio one just got approved like 20 minutes ago, so that's brand new. You're the first one to use that. I was gonna add that to the Discord or to my Stream Deck when I hit this one. I want to put in that little character, but the animated ones are still being approved by by Twitch here. So once those are updated, we'll be able to add them. But it's so cool to see those on stream. That's awesome. Okay, so what's so beautiful about Prosto's way of doing it is we've only got one function here. We had like orb 1, orb 2, orb 3, X and Y for all those, and we were updating them via time, and we did figure out our math.pi times 2 divided by count, but we were manually assigning it. Whereas in this one, it's just going through a loop of all of them, and we're multiplying it by our for loop here. And then the step is what really solves this problem for us, because our step is going to be related to the count we have. So that is a dynamic way to do it. Now I do want to show you guys Prosto's code because it's really cool. What we would have to do, and you know what I should do, I'll leave us in this repo, but I will switch over to, so this is his code. He has a whole bunch of stuff going on here, but I'll show you what that does. And to do that, we've got to modify our bash RC real quick. And this is because our leader M is set to default to a certain directory, so we have to change that directory so we can actually run it with leader M pretty easily. So we'll just write that out, and then we'll go back into our tmux session, and we'll run Prosto's code. Check that out. Look how cool that is. So yeah, so Prosto was on the channel yesterday, and he dumped this into our, you know, I was streaming on Linux for very long, but we're not actually on Linux, we're on Windows, but I'm in the Windows Linux subsystem. So when I was on Linux, which is most of this channel up until this past 2 weeks, we were in Linux. It's just that my streaming quality wasn't consistent. So like, I have fast enough internet, but it wasn't stable enough. So we moved over to Windows, sadly. but we're in the Windows Linux subsystem because all my NeoVim configuration and stuff, and I'm more used to the Linux environment. So that's what we're doing. But this is what Prosto sent over after seeing me yesterday struggle with getting the orbs. So he whipped this up and sent it over to me as like a example, and then on stream he showed me how to do it, a more simple version obviously of that. But so he's the reason we were able to figure this out today instead of another day of us being stuck on it. So I just thought it'd be cool to show you guys Prosto's code there. Now we do want to go back to our bash RC and get our and you know what, we should probably get our Tashio code back. so we can go ahead and do that. So let's give us a new tmux session once we're in our repo here. And we'll do Tashio. Okay. Okay, so let's see. We should run our Tashio. Okay, so we've got the one fire animating and going around us, at least. We do need to update it with the new fire sprite we just made with the rounded bottoms. But I do want to see, I want to turn down that speed of the fire. Now, we're going to have to redo how we're doing all this with our new found knowledge. I want to see where, I think it's in our fire idle animation we're setting all this. Yeah, see, look, so we tried doing this with our eye and step. We just, oh, hey, Brosto, we were literally just talking about you. Yeah, we were just showing off your demo that you made, so you just barely missed that, but we were just looking at all those beautiful circles you sent us. And we got some circles working ourselves here that I just switched off of. So now we're back in our game. We have to update our old orbiting code to be the new stuff that you helped us with. But thanks for the raid, man. I appreciate it. Hey, Murloc. Hey, good to see you. Nice first time chat there. Yeah, we're doing... Exactly. I do Love2d, except I'm in the 2D version of Love2d, unlike Prosto, who's doing like a very cool 3D game, which I didn't know you could pull off in Love2d. But this is our little game so far. We're working on getting our spellcasting abilities. So right now we've just got one fire kind of orbiting us, which we want to be adapted to your level of skill for your proficiency in casting. So you might have one, you might have two, you might have 3, up to 5. So what we're trying to do is take our old code and change it so that it's more adaptive. Now what I'll do is I will get out of here and we'll go back real quick. I do want to show, we go back to our other directory here. Here, we can run this, and I can show you, this is the code that Prosto ended up helping me with, so I made this right before stream started. So we've got the 5 spinning orbs around us, which is what we want our fire to be. We want our fire to be animated around us, and Prosto helped us figure out where if we put in a different count here, it adaptively kind of puts it in the correct spot. So like 2 is opposites, 3 will be a triangle. So we're trying to modify our Tashio code to be more like this because Prosto's way of doing it is so much cleaner because you just do the loop right here. You don't have to do all the orb X's and Y's like I was doing to try to get that spacing correct. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do, get the local variables, because in my game, we're gonna have the spells, the orbs, are gonna be collidable objects. So we need to be able to keep track of those. So I don't know if that means we make them local at the top of our file, and then we update those local variables. So I'm still thinking about how to do that, but it's gonna be fun. Hey, AKA Bob, good to see you. We were just showing off Prosto's code he helped us with. So we've got the working orb rotations. And Murloc, I'll show you how we cast spells. I'll show you how it's gonna work in our game. So I'll go ahead and switch us over. We're gonna go edit our bash RC once more and go back to our Tashio code. Now I do have to do this to make leader M run our game very easily, so it's a little obnoxious, but it's worth it to have leader M work so easily. So we'll just swap over to our Tashio and we can run our game. So this is our game. So now Murloc, our spell casting, imagine the fire's not on here, but as you hit spacebar, you use your red bar, which is your focus, and then the white is like the output of your focus. So you have to kind of balance the white indicator into the green spell casting zone in order to cast a successful spell. So we only want these flames to show up once that white dot is balanced in the green spot there. And then you have to kind of wait for your focus to recharge before you can cast another spell. So that's the idea behind it. So we're just trying to get our flame sprite to be the orbs in that example we just showed. We built it in a sandbox because it was just easier to handle and understand while I kind of played around with it. And I don't know what that means, because we've got what we're doing here is like we've got a animation state for our flame idle animation. So we actually need to update this animation with the one we did earlier on stream today. So let's go ahead and re-export that. We rounded out the bottom of our fire animation so that it's not a flat bottom anymore. So we need to export that and overwrite this flame atlas to get that. Sorry, Pro, so I don't know what that means. Bit viable in all nested code blocks. Okay. If you have a local var, then var 1 exists from do to end and not visible outside. So if you need it everywhere, define it on the file level. Okay. I think that makes sense. So I'll just have to kind of see. We're going to take a day here soon to rehaul. Prosto alerted us to the problem of all of our variables being global, which isn't so great. It can make some problems, and it's slower. So we're going to be updating our code at some point soon to redefine all those into local variables as we can. And then we'll make an effort from here on out to make them as local as possible to just hopefully have a smoother experience. And then, AKA Bob, I don't know if you've seen, but we've got some emotes that were approved. So we're still waiting on the animated ones, but we've got some new ones up here, which is fun. And there's a Tashio there too. It's just not showing up on my current screen. So we're going to export this as our new flame atlas. So we're going to go save as. Now, I kind of don't want to overwrite our old flame atlas just in case we liked it. So I'm just going to call this flame atlas 2 and save it as a PNG. And then when you save it as an atlas like that, it splits out all the frames and it lays them out like this. So if we were to open our Flame Atlas 2, oh, actually, yeah, we totally jacked that up. We messed that up. We gotta fix that. Let me see. There's a way, I think we've got to, let me delete those ones we just exported because that was wrong. Yep. We want to export it as an atlas, export sprite sheet, that's what we want. And then we want, I guess does it default to PNG here? Nope, like this. Gosh, I know I've done this before, I'm just... Wow, I am not figuring this out. Oh no, that's right, that's right. We do want it like this. Horizontal strip is right. And then... how come we're not able to... There we go. So we are going to save this as a Flame Atlas 2, and then we're going to change that as our flame in our program here, and then okay, so if we go into our constants, or it's in our dependencies actually. We can go put our flame texture as a flame atlas 2 instead of 1, and then we should have our rounded flame. Yeah, now the bottom of that is rounded out, so it's not just a flat line. Now I do want to still change that a bit, but at least we've got it here. Yeah, I do want to round it out a bit more and maybe make it a tiny bit smaller. But we've got that. Now let's see how we're actually doing this currently, because it's probably really super jacked up. I think it's in... Let's take a look at our scene and see what we're doing with any sort of flame. So we have a spellcast entity. That's what we're doing. We've got a spellcast entity table that we're assigning an entity instantiation into, and then we've got the animations for it. We're changing its state to be a flame idle state, which we'll take a look at because we're changing it there. And then let's take a look at that flame idle state. So we change our animation to be the flame animation, and then here's our old code where we are doing this. So it's kind of close, but we've got to do, and let me see where, I guess the speed of it would be multiplied in here. So if we turn this to 1, it should be slower. Okay, so we've got our flame. It's working at least as one entity. So let's go ahead and see if we can't update this to be our new stuff. So we're going to look at, I don't have the confidence to do it from scratch here, but we'll look at our project as a reference, which is called spin, and then we'll look at it in here. Okay, so we need, right here, here's a big difference. You know, like Prosto said, we're setting our locals out here. And then, or we're setting them locally. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but when you move, it looks really slow, like it collides with character. What do you mean? What collides with character? Like the flame does? Okay, we'll work on seeing any issues like that as we implement this, but let's just, I'm gonna see. Okay, so let's give us these local variables here, and then we'll try to do this better. Prosto's probably gonna be laughing at me because I'm now I'm just gonna type local for every variable, whether or not it works or not. So bear with me. We want our local time in our update here to get our, actually, yeah. We want local time to get our time plus delta time up here. And then in our update function, we have access to time. So that's good. Let's give us a speed. And the speed's probably off because of the different dimensions, but we don't have to worry about updating our player location in this one because we're already doing that. So let's go ahead and see. We do need a offset because Love will draw things at the top left index. So if we want the orbs to orbit the center of our character, we're going to have to offset the position by half of our character's width and height. So it'll be tile size divided by 2 here. So we've got an offset, we've got a speed. Now we need a orbit, or I think we call it amplitude here. We just set it in our draw function. So what we do have to do differently is right here, we're just rendering all these orbs in our sandbox example. we're rendering all of our orbs here, but we're only doing these variables for the render. So like we don't actually have access to do anything like collision detection for our actual flame entities. So we need to be able to not just have these variables in our render, in our love.draw function, but ultimately we want them to be updated because we need to keep track of their position so we can do collision detection, and then we need to render them at whatever those locations are. So we do need to switch this up, but hopefully we can figure it out here. Now we're updating. Oh, we do it a little differently here. No, we've got time. Okay. So if we're setting, I guess it depends on if we update. Now that we're updating our time in our update function, we can set it locally there. So, okay, so let's just see if we can see, and then I guess the other thing is we need to see when we are instantiating these entities. So I want to go into our scene here and see. And hey, Salto, if you're here still, I've got you as an attributed artist here on this emote. I think there's something on your end that you have to like agree that it was made by you or something. But you do have the artist badge here on chat as well, so that's cool. And your founder badge, like a boss. So thank you for that. Salto Manga did the background art for our channel here, our Sekiro themed background art, which is really cool. Okay, so there's our flame. We're no longer updating it. I'm curious how we're... Oh yeah, this is messy. So each entity, as long as we update it correctly in our state machine, they should have the right X and Y positions. And then we're going to be inserting them into our table here on a count basis. So this is tricky. I guess let's just do, you know, one for now. And make sure that's still... Does that mean we've got... Okay, I don't know what's going on. Is that the only difference? Why can't we do... Okay, we've got some bigger problems here. Are we updating all our entities here? Yeah, oh, our self-thought entities. Oh, okay, well, we're doing this. God, this is so jacked up. This is so bad. I feel so guilty looking at this. Okay, so we're gonna be... Here's our like normal entities that are getting like the walk state and everything, but our spellcast entities have different set of rules, so we're updating them separately. I don't know if that makes any sense, but they have to do different things than our normal entity class does. So that's why I kind of split it out like this. So it looks like we're trying to update 3 entities. So if we give us any other than 3 entities here, it doesn't like it. So for right now, let me just see if we can get a flame count of 1, just so we can worry about 1 right now, and then we'll worry about scaling this code better. I just want it to not crash when we put 1 in there. All right, we'll go back to 3. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, so here we should technically have 3 spellcast entities, and they're all in the same spot. So we need to go worry about updating them and then doing that step count to separate them. Now, this is probably the issue. We're using this same global variable here, which is probably why it was screwing up in the first place. Actually, that was probably it. This is exactly why Prosto told us not to use globals if we can avoid it. Let me see now if we just update our 1 flame count. Well, let's see here. No, that's not why it was crashing, so we've got bigger problems somewhere. Okay. So let's compare this. We've got our time, we've got our step, and our step is based on our flame count, which should probably... Now this is a global. Which we want to change. But maybe we should make our flame idle take in account for how many flames. But does that make sense? Because if we're in our scene, we can pass in flame count into... I don't know if this makes sense, but we could put it here as our third argument. So we have access to it. So I will be working on getting rid of all of our globals, but I'm just trying to get it to work right now, and then we can go back and be more thoughtful about it. Okay, so now we've got a count, so let's go ahead and save our count here. Okay, so we're gonna... Now that that's global, that would work, but I'm just trying to make it so we understand what we're doing. So we're updating our time. We're getting our step assignment based on our flame count. So right now it's a flame count of 3. Now, for whatever reason, I like doing it like this. For I gets 1 through flame count. Now, okay, so this circle X, this is the orb X, so, or the flame X. I'm gonna change these to flame X just to make it a little easier to understand. Now we need to replace all of our circle X here with flame X. And then all of our circle Y's with flame Y. was not right. Okay, let's just make sure we don't crash. Now there should be 3 entities right there. They're just not moving, so we need to make sure that we are we should be updating this. And then we're updating our entity's position based on our player's position plus our flame's position. So why aren't we rotating? Now this 20 here is like our orbit. So we can put our amplitude here and then give us the amplitude right here of 20. Okay. Okay, it's because our time here is outside. No, we should have access to this time. No, see, and I gotta really look up how. Yeah, binge ops. This is Love2d and Lua that we're working on here. I am such a beginner. I'm still not even sure if local means local to what's in the brackets here. Like if we even have access to this time, or if we need it in here or not, I don't even know. Well, that's not rotating. Now we want... Let's see here. We're updating. Let's mimic our test one we did over here. So local time gets 0. Then in update, we're gonna update our time to be self plus delta time. And then we give us a new local time that gets our time. So that's how we kind of pass variables through these other functions. When they're local is in our update. Well, we don't actually need this here because we're not doing it in our draw function. We're doing it in our update function. So we should be able to pass in time here. And then hopefully we're going to be rotating. But we'll see. Okay, we are rotating now. Now we still need... We don't have multiple flames still. So it's because each instantiation here, it's like we're... Gosh, I don't know how to do this. Because it looks like... We need this entities. Gosh, we need to cycle through all of our entities and update each one instead of a flame X being assigned, and instead of the position being moved to, well, we are assigning, it's like we are rendering each entity here, but we're not assigning, actually, yeah, we're just rendering one entity here in this, gosh. So if we take a look at our scene, where are we? Each entity is getting a flame idle state. But then I think what's happening is Not exactly sure. But we're doing, so like we should have three spellcast entities here, and they're all in the flame idle state. They're all updating to loop through the spell, through the flame count, and change those variables. So that's wrong. We want to like I think we've got to do this orb stuff out of our flame idle entity. Now I guess why do we even need this? It's like I don't even think we need this flame idle state, other than the fact that it kind of holds all of these spell casting. Because like as we add more spells, we want to be able to kind of like keep our code modular, so it kind of makes sense in that front to have all the flame stuff separate. Oh, we aren't multiplying by our speed. Just make sure that this will go faster. You know what? Yeah, I mean, that's not even working, so there's something jacked up here for sure. Because we're giving a bigger function into our big functions, flame X and flame Y, so that's not working. Now we're trying to put... Yeah, I don't think we want to do... We want to do... instead of flame count here, we want to put the amount of entities from our scene. So we render each self dot. But then again, we don't need each entity to be updating this. So this is weird. I don't know what we want to do. Our scene view dot spellcast entities. And then we want to do the number of how many spellcast entities we have. Yeah, I don't like this because we're doing this for every entity, so I'm kind of curious if we, well, gosh, it's really tough to wrap my head around this because this is the first project I've done with the entity system. So each, like we're referencing the entity in this state anyway. So I think we need to modify that the entities, instead of flame X, we can say that it's this entity's X. And entities Y, and then we update our position. Oh, well, we're updating our position to get, we can do this here. We update it to be this plus our current time plus, or our current X position plus this, and then we can get rid of our space adjustments. Okay, well now we've got some flame going. Amplitude is huge, so let's go dump our amplitude down. Okay, that's still huge. There we go. Okay, so we still need to update our entity's position with our character here. At least that's changing stuff now, so... we want to update our entity's position. Yeah, this is what we just deleted. I just didn't read what we did. Let me just see if we've got... Nope. Okay, our player is from... Yeah, how... You know what? How did we do this? 1/5 for our amplitude. Okay, it's our self.scene player X. So we're going to update... our entity's position is going to be our entity's current position plus the player's position. Now we do need to offset. We need to offset this position right here with our player offset. So we can say plus player offset, because we don't want to rotate around the top left of our character. We want to rotate around the center of our character. And then we need our amplitude down. What did we do? What did we do? Where did our flame go? Let me just... Oh, lordy. We'll go here. Yo, where did our flame go? This is wrong. Okay, well, if we set... Okay. Let me see. If we take that out again, we got our stuff back. We got our flame. Okay, we're going about this wrong. Really? What is going on? I think we want our player's X here. Okay. There we go. We're updating our position now for that object, but it's still just the one. Now I think what we want to do here is cycle through not because we're updating this state machine for every entity, but we shouldn't need to reassign all these values for every entity. We just want to do it once. So it's almost like it's like if this flame idol handles all of the flame idols. No, I don't know. Because it doesn't make sense to go through. We're updating every entity's state machine. So if we had 5 fires, we'd be going through 5 different times, assigning, and then going through every entity 5 different times, and assigning these values that overwrite one another. So we don't need to be doing that. So if we take it's not ideal to do this in this state machine. Like, we want to just we want this line of code, we want all of this to be outside of our state machine, so that we just update those entities' position, and then all the state machine does is render that position at its X and Y location. So I think we want this to be done out in our scene. So we'll give that a shot, but we've got all this stuff. See, and that's the other thing. We've got all these local variables that we don't want to be clogging up our scene view, because we're going to have a bunch of these other variables for different spellcasting entities. So we want to be able to, I think we want a class instead of a state machine for these. So yeah, let's walk through what that might look like. If we have a spellcast entity class that is like a spell type, and an X and Y position, and an orbiting value, then we can go and depending on what element we have, we're going to set the type of spellcast entity or a spellcast object we're going to make. So I guess the difference would be that if we have an object instead of a state machine, we can go ahead and in our scene, I guess we still got to do the same thing. Like, we still got to do this out in our scene so that we can update all those positions, and then each object would get rendered. So I guess there's not much of a difference. I just don't want all of these variables. I mean, I guess it's okay. We can just be, let's try it. Well, instead of this flame idol updating, instead of updating the state machine, we're going to go ahead and cycle through all the entities and update them in our scene update instead. That way we only do it once per frame instead of every single entity we updated. So that does mean that we need these local variables in our scene, so we have access to them. So let me just make sure. Let's go back to our scene, and we'll go to our update function. Now, we will figure out how to package it differently so it's not just thrown in here like this. But for now, I just want to get it working. So we need to go snag our locals. We'll put them in our scene. So now we've got, our scene has got a spellcast entity table. Now we're describing a number of flames to insert, and we're inserting an entity instantiation with the animation of our flame in there. Now that isn't quite true because we need to set our animation, which we aren't doing, but we are doing it when we change our state to flame idle. That's when we're actually changing our animation. So we're changing the animation there. These don't exist. This is outside of this function. So now let's see. So all our flame idle state is doing is rendering our flame at the entity's position. So let's see if we can go ahead and see anything. So like in our update here, we've got our local variable here, we've got our local step here, and we're cycling through not our scene view spellcast entities, but our self.spellcast entities, and then not our scene.playerx, but our .playerx, and then our not our self.entity x, but our self.entity, let me think this through. Self.spellcast entities at the index of i.x. So we're going to shift every entity position, and now we're only doing it once instead of updating it for every flame over and over and over. So now we're doing it once here in the update function, which is still going 60 times a second, but self.player y plus this. Okay, let's see this. Field count. We need our count, which we don't have. It's not a self.count. Where is our count defined? We don't have it. We must have forgot it. In here, yeah, we pass it. Okay, so let's take out the count from our flame idle class, or our state rather. Take that out, and we'll make sure that this is a local variable. And it's gonna be, now we do have a global called flame count that we'll just take. We will change that, but let's just see. We want 3 flames. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, we got 3 flames. That's awesome. Okay, so now let's speed this guy up. So speed, instead of 50, what if we do 200? It is not changing. So we gotta make sure we're changing this. We are multiplying it by speed. Isn't that cool? It looks really sick. We're gonna make this fire. We'll make this fire an animated emote too. I think we've got one more spot. And then apparently, like, I don't know if it's possible to unlock animated emotes for just followers, but there was a thing on my dashboard that said if we hit 10 sub points, we would unlock 1 standard emote and 1 animated emote. So I wonder if that's for followers too. That's looking sick though. So the idea here is now we can say, okay, well, if our count is our flame count, then what if we change our flame count to be 5 instead of 3? Oh no. And we're jacked. I was hoping that would be correct. Oh god, okay. It's because... Oh god, okay. We just want to make sure we're giving us a flame count amount of entities, and then we're going to go... Oh my god. We set our count here, we set our step. Okay. Okay. Now we are multiplying this by speed, so I don't get why speed doesn't... Like, our speed is outside here, so, like, is there any difference if we say speed right here? Will it actually go faster? No, it won't. Why is that the case? Let's take a look. Well, and then does go around us. Oh, well. It does move around us. It's so weird that it works on 3, but not works on any other number here. So... let's take a closer look at our flame idle, and we're not doing anything in our update here. So, is that the problem? Like, it's not that we're not. It's like we don't need to update. All this is doing is really rendering our flame at the X and Y position, and we're updating our X and Y position here in our scene. Right here. So how come multiplying this by a different value doesn't change? Oh, that's kind of sick. So if this weren't speed, but it was just 50, that's really slow. And 500, really slow. What? Times 1. Really slow. What the heck, man? And we're not... I'm really confused here. Why wouldn't that be changing? This isn't our update, and we're doing it for every spellcast entity. We just try to offset this by 50 on the X. Yeah, it works. So why doesn't changing the speed work? I am so confused why this isn't speeding this up. So like if we just have I times step, it should be 3 objects equally spaced, not moving, which it is. So if we want them to move, we'd go ahead and add our time variable, which is getting a bigger and bigger number. So let's add our time. And now it should be moving. And that's the same speed that we've been getting. It's that same slow speed. So why is it that when we multiply this to be a bigger number, it doesn't change its speed? It doesn't change its speed. What are we doing? Are we doing any other spellcast entity thing that could be messing this up? All we're doing is rendering. So it's like we've got a table. We insert a flame count amount of entities into our table. We change the state of each spellcast entity to be the flame idle state so we can render it. Then we update each spellcast entity to have the new rotated position offset by its step amount. Then we're updating, which actually we don't need to do. Then we're rendering. So that should be it. So if this is a... Oh, did we just not... Yeah, we do need to update to get the animation. So we need to update them so that we can render the animation. There's something going on here. Yeah, why would... This should be flame count. Okay, so when we don't... This is weird. When we don't update our flame idle animation, or our flame idle state, we're not getting the correct render frame, but our render frame should be tied to the entity, isn't it? Because when we update our spellcast entity, they are all... Oh, no, we do need that. Okay, that makes sense, because, yeah, we're only updating our entity's animation in the update function for the entity. So, why can't we speed up this circle, and why does it only work with 3? Like, why come 2 spellcasts, or 2 flame counts doesn't work? Oh, it does. Okay, and it does space it out. Okay, well, what if we do 5? Do we get 5? Yes, we do. Okay. That's good. That's looking sick. It's just that we can't change the speed of it for whatever reason. Okay, so let's go to our update. Now, why? For assigning our spellcast entity's X position, let me take a look at our other code here. If we split our tab and go into our other... Actually, I don't know if we can tmux out of a tmux. Go into our spin. We'll go check out this code again. Now, the code that we just had that was working was this, which was... Yeah, we multiply by speed in the parentheses. Okay, so yeah, we have our player X. Yeah, okay. So look, we're rendering our graphics at the orb X plus our player offset. Now, see, yeah, why don't we have to do the player offset is really confusing to me. How is that? I think the player X here is what is counting for our offset. Well, no, let's see. If we take out this, then it won't move. It'll just stay stationary when we move. Yeah. But we still can't speed it up, so... Oh god. So it's I times step plus time times speed. So, oh, okay. We need to multiply time by our speed in order to speed it up. Yeah, that makes sense. So we add time here, and then it's just a PEMDAS thing. We have to add time plus speed here, and then it should speed us up. Yeah, yeah, buddy. Okay, let's get a reasonable speed here. This is really cool. Only took us 3 episodes and a lot of help from Prosto, but... Okay, so if speed was more like 10, that's still too fast. If speed is more like 3... There we go. Yeah, buddy. Okay. So, if we can get only our flames to happen once we're in a spellcast success, which is our focus indicator being in that realm of a spellcast success, then we'll have the start of our special ability, our spellcast ability, and we can have it where we can change the number of flames. And it dynamically kind of puts it at an even spacing. So 2 would be right like there, and if we had 1, it would just be 1, and if we had 3, it should look like a triangle, and then if we had 4, it should look like a square. So I like the 3. The 3 is really cool. And then the 4 should be a square. Nice. This is beautiful. Okay. Okay, so it's a pretty good speed. It's a pretty good speed. Now, what we want to do is only render these things. And actually, we only want to populate these things and update them if we're in our range. For right now, we can just turn off the rendering for them, which is the easiest way. We have to find where we're doing our Manus, which is in our play state, it looks like. Not our scene. So we might need to move that. I don't exactly know. Let's look at our Manus code. Our Manus is our red bar. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a certain kind of if we look at where our green is being rendered for our Manus here, we can see what range are right here. So our between 65 and screen height limit plus 2, that's our Y screen height. Oh no, that's a Y location. Okay, so our X starts at 65. So we would have to calculate our focus bar. Where is our focus indicator? We've got access to our focus indicator. So all we have to do is ask if our focus indicator is in the range of if it is bigger than a 65 and smaller than a 65 plus 20, because that is the width of our focus indicator successful cast. So we'd only render these items if a certain boolean is true. So what we can do is 65 and 20, we'll remember that. Now we'll give ourselves a successful cast. So we'll say like successful cast. Is that how you spell success? Yeah. Successful cast gets false, okay? That's what we initialize it as. Then in our update function, well, let's go, yeah, and we're doing our focus gain and Manus drain here. So we'll do, after we update that, we'll say if our self.focus indicator X is greater than our, was it 65? And our focus indicator X is smaller than 65 plus 20, so 85. It was those numbers, right? 40, 65, yep, okay. Right here. So if that's the case, not what I wanted. If that's the case, then we're gonna go ahead and swap our successful cast to become true. And if we're not in that range, we're gonna be false. So let's go ahead and print this up and make sure that this is turning true anytime our focus indicator is in our green successful cast range. So we'll go ahead and print that up here. Now we could print it up. We're already got a debug page here that we can say, we can put cast here, cast, and we're gonna cast to a string our successful cast. Now, did we do a self at our successful cast assignment there? Because that would have been wrong. We did. It's just successful cast. And then at the top here, we can see that it is just successful cast. So now if we run this and we pull up our debugging, our cast is false. Now let's watch if that cast turns true when our focus indicator hits green. Oh my God, it does. Okay, so now all we have to do is render our fire objects if we're a successful cast, and then we'll have it. So let's go ahead and go to our scene, and where are we rendering our Orbeez? Okay, spellcast entities. Okay, so we only want to render these if our spellcast is true, and it's just as simple as saying if spellcast. How did I spell it? How did I spell it? That is in our play state. Successful cast, that's what it's called. So if successful cast, then go ahead and render. Okay, let's see. No flame. Let's watch if we hit our successful cast, if the flames appear. And it doesn't. So, what's going on? This is local. Okay, this is the problem. We've got a local variable in our play state we're trying to call here, so Proso's gonna hate this. We don't want to do this. We don't want to make this global if we can avoid it. So we're gonna have to try to refactor that out. But now, if it's global, whenever we're in a successful cast, our flame comes out. So it is indeed hard, like I was expecting it to be. Yeah, it is hard. But that's kind of like the point of it. It's like as you upgrade, right? It, like if you watch the focus indicator, I'm just gonna hold spacebar and you'll see that it kind of like ramps up and then ramps down. And that's the kind of waviness of your mind that makes it hard to focus. So it's not supposed to be easy at the beginning to be able to successfully cast fire constantly around you. And at the beginning of the game, you're gonna be having less flame proficiency anyway. So towards the beginning of the game, you would probably have where's our flame count? At the beginning of the game, you might have just one flame. So you only get one. So it's gonna be, and this might not be the main mechanic for spellcasting. Like this, if this isn't fun or if this is way too difficult, we might not do this at all. But the game is about kind of achieving balance in the ecosystem. So the idea is like, as you beat the different biomes, the overall validity, like not validness, but like volatileness of the environment will go down, making it easier for you to focus. So at the beginning, it will be difficult, but that just means we make the first biome easier. less guys on screen at once. They're super, like maybe flame is super effective against them. So like I would like to add a little fade to this so it's not so on or off, like a little fade, like a 3-frame fade or something for the successful spell cast. And then we could do it where we only render and detect collision if it's successful cast, and that would keep its location, which probably makes sense. We'd want to keep it so that it's smooth because we are going to be fading in and out because of our focus. So it makes sense for us to be updating those flames as we go, but only do damage if it's a successful spell cast. So it's very difficult, and we want to make sure, so like this is just one spell cast for one element. So like let's say we're holding a torch, that's how we can harness the fire element in order to cast this spell. So we might have an ice spell that doesn't go circle around you, maybe it goes straight in front of you or something. So you'd have to go, blast it right in front of you whenever there's a spell cast. So there might be different play types for different spells. So like if it's like a swarm of bats or something, like maybe you want the fire spell, and hopefully you've got the 5 flame count where your spell cast is going to go all around you, and you can kind of run around, get those bats off of you, and then maybe you switch over to your ice spell and you could like beam out an ice spell or something, and different play types for different elements. So like we'd have to make a way of changing our elements with shift or something to give you the different spread or the different type of spell casting. But this is all in development, so like we don't know if this is going to be what the game ends up being, but this is exactly what I wanted, where it's like you have to be mindful of balancing your spell cast, and then not only will, as you clear these biomes, not only will the focus indicator waver less, making it easier to balance your spell cast, that'll waver less, but also your successful cast range might increase. So we have to decide how we want to balance that, because it could be like maybe there's a proficiency system or something, and like if you cleanse 50 entities with your spell cast, it makes you get a bigger successful cast range or something like that. So like it could be modified to be easier upon a couple different methods. We just have to kind of decide what we want to do. Or we could kind of do it where maybe flame is a certain spellcast success range, and then maybe ice spell, since it's more powerful, has got like a smaller successful cast range or something for it. I don't exactly know just yet, but it is very cool to see our flame working. So like we've got our spell cast finally in the game, which is really cool. And then it's actually not too hard to keep it there, but you have to be mindful. Your mana strains super fast. And there's another mechanic I want it to be like, I think like it's hard to explain, but I want like, in order for like another thing to be like, if you just hold your mana, drain your mana like that, and you have 0, I want there to be some kind of penalty for trying to use focus when you're completely out of focus. So like I want you to be mindful of how much you have left so you don't overdo it, because I think if you use your focus when you don't have any left, it should lead to a different state. Like either it hurts your health, or I was thinking of some other stuff that I want to think about a little more. Like I was thinking if you're trying to cast, and maybe this has to do with casting a spell when your element's vibrancy is drained, because the idea behind it is sort of like if you try to cast a spell without an element to pull a source from. Hey, thanks for hanging around, aka Bob. Have fun in the hot tub. The idea is like if you're trying to pull energy from an element that doesn't have any vibrancy left, that you have to pull that energy from somewhere. So I'm thinking like you pull that energy from your health source or from your sanity or something, like like your body's energy. So like maybe the screen dims when you're trying to cast a spell when you don't have enough vibrancy in your element or something. Like just a thing either to do with trying to cast when your element's vibrancy is out or when your Manus is completely drained. Like, I don't know just yet, but we'll be thinking about that. But it is so cool to see our freaking spellcasting working now. That is awesome. Okay, let's call it a night. We'll go make our get diff here. Let's see what we did today. So we've got all our local variables for our flame, and we are inserting flame entities into our spellcast entities table. Then we're updating those spellcast entities to be a result of the different count. So how many flame counts we are, that's the spacing between them. And then we only render them if it's a successful cast. We updated our flame atlas to be more rounded instead of flat bottom. And then that's actually a comment out. So we took the logic out of our flame idle state machine and we put it into our scene, which I still want to possibly do different. And then we change our successful cast boolean to be true if it's in the successful cast range. So a big day. I want to give a big shout out to Prosto, who showed us how to do these orbs better. So he hooked us up in the Discord and he showed what we can do there. So he posted in the Discord there how to help us. So I appreciate that. Big shout out to him. And we'll go ahead and commit with a message saying cast flame entities, which is a cool commit. And then what we'll do is we'll raid a smaller programmer streamer here. I mean, smaller in the sense that he's only got 2 viewers right now, but it would be cool to just say hi. I know he's raided another friend of mine, so I thought it'd be fun to maybe raid him. I don't know what his stream is like though, so hopefully it's we'll see. But thanks for watching, guys. I will be here tomorrow and we'll get some more work done.